Welcome to Mother's Narrative Network. Before we begin, please like and subscribe for more daily uploads. Hope you enjoy today's video. Cringiest thing you've witnessed at a wedding. We were secretly sent the lyrics to the first dance, and as a surprise we all had to stand up and sing it to the couple. My toes were curling. Father of the groom called the new bride by the ex-wife's name. Congratulations to Wayne and Waynette, I mean Linda. Went to another wedding where one of the first songs played featured the name of his ex-wife. We then had to watch their dance montage, which was clearly going on YouTube. Cringe like sitting on a white sofa on your period. Highly choreographed first dance done as a surprise by the bride and groom. They did 4 different dances to 4 different songs. Awful. A half strip by the bride and bridesmaids to the groom and groomsmen. Bride's cousin playing the guitar during the signing or the register. He was not gifted in guitar playing and didn't appear to know very much, as it was basically the same 2-minute bit played over and over. It was all right for a bit, then got a bit awkward and embarrassing. Fair play to him for giving it a go though. The bride and groom sang endless love to each other, badly. The best man's speech at my best friend's wedding was awful. He, the best man, was a public school educated chinless banker wanker. Best mate is married to a banker. He made joke after joke about how well best mate had done, her work ethic, and some horrible joke about their sex life. Not sure how much of it is true. Best mate is Irish. The farming stock made loads of comments about that to her family as though they were idiotic, freeloading simpletons. Just really awful. Cringe-worthy. As an aside, most of the farmers are absolutely loaded and could have bought and sold the rude asshole times over. Father of the bride speech, where he was basically comparing daughters. Didn't know where to look. One of DH's friends had thrones. Like the Beckhams. Do people lose all sense and taste when it comes to weddings? The groom had a best woman instead of a best man, his oldest friend. It was painfully obvious to everyone, but the bride and groom, that she was hopelessly in love with him and despondent at his marriage. It was awful. Speeches. Mother of the bride making passive-aggressive digs at the groom's side. Father of the bride talking about himself and his business. Groom behaving more like a drunk best man, and talking about sex, not in a jokey double extender way, proper lads night out lewd stuff. Best man too drunk to do his speech, but everybody too polite to do anything about it, i.e. tell him he's had enough and put him to bed. He was falling over and knocking stuff over and everyone was just pretending it wasn't happening. Oh, and I went to one where the mother of the bride had had sex with the RC priest doing the ceremony. Her immediate family didn't know, but a fair few in the congregation did. And on the floor scrap over the bouquet. 2 of the bridesmaids. Everyone else stood around awkwardly and baffled in their disbelief the 2 were seriously fighting over it. Drunk wedding band singer shouting at everyone because they weren't dancing. Reason nobody was dancing was because she kept stopping mid-song to tell everyone off for not dancing. A family wedding where the groom's speech mentioned, hopefully, in every other sentence. Think. Hopefully we will grow old together. Hopefully she will still love me after the honeymoon. Hopefully she thinks she's made the right choice. Hopefully we will have children. The marriage lasted 18 months. She left him. Not me, but my mum. She was at her ex-partner's ex-wife's second wedding, yeah, all were on good terms. The wedding was being videoed and my mum nearly pissed herself in her pew when the bride, knowing she was being filmed close-up for the vows, looked at the groom and blinked in slow motion for the camera. Friend whose dad has always been a ick to her, and makes it perfectly obvious he prefers her brother. Started his father of the bride speech, I'm sure you all know my son John. And proceeded to make a 30-minute speech about how amazing he was. Lot of stony faces in the room. Lot of under-the-breath muttering about what a twit he was and still is. Father of the groom singing a self-penned song about the couple, a cappella, during the register signing. He faltered and had to restart. I had to literally hold on to my DH to stop him leaving the room. Sis was bridesmaid at a wedding where the groom was totally overcome during his speech, to the point that he was racked with sobbing but refused to end his speech. Went beyond sweet and touching to awkward and uncomfortable. The bride and her family were extremely devout Christians, very formal and serious wedding. The groom and his family were the extreme opposite. At the end of the best man's speech he said, "Go easy on her tonight, mate." Could have heard a pin drop. The father of the bride's face was like thunder. The soon-to-be MIL was crying, actually wailing, through the vows. She really didn't want her DS to marry the woman in question. It was just an embarrassing evening for everyone. She even accosted us at our table to ask what we thought of proceedings, and my then DP offered her a tissue. A bride who was so thrilled to be having the wedding she'd always dreamed of, that she started to walk down the aisle forgetting something, her new husband. Donkeys years ago DH, and I went to a uni friend's wedding. Bride was marrying a bloke who worked for a very well-known IT company. The father of the bride's speech was a painful, lengthy IT-related metaphor. When he got to the labored jokey upgrading for a newer, faster model analogy, both the bride and her mother, divorced, ex-wife of father of the bride, developed expressions of barely contained rage. Their body language perceptibly stiffened, whilst he blundered on oblivious. My ass clenched in sympathy. It was awful. We knew her well enough to know her parents' divorce had been acrimonious. Twit. I went to a wedding where the groom's family had all been attending a slimming club. During the speeches the groom's mum whipped out a set of weighing scales and all the family members trooped up to be weighed, while she wrote down the weights in her notebook and congratulated each OE on their weight loss, with special congratulations for the biggest loser. Then the rest of the speeches continued as if nothing unusual had happened. At the same wedding the bride's father, a dedicated fan of a particular football team, who never missed a match, but had to for his daughter's wedding, sat at the top table with a radio in his pocket and headphones in so he could listen to the match, and was thus oblivious to everything that was happening around him. The marriage lasted about a year. When my cousin finally married, he and his partner had been together for years and everyone was speculating about why now. As he made his speech, he announced that there was not going to be just him and his new wife sat at their table, there was to be a third person. All the guests clapped and cheered. He looked confused. Turned out he meant Jesus. One wedding that had 4 bridesmaids and 1 flower girl, and the groom personally thanked each one and gave them a gift, except for the flower girl. Hopefully was just an oversight and not intentional, really felt for the flower girl. At another wedding a guest got the microphone off the DJ and went down on one knee to propose to his girlfriend. She said no. Was mortifying to watch, but they had been at our table, and he was behaving as if it was the first social even he had ever attended. Even before the proposal you could see the embarrassment on the girlfriend's face. She scarpered soon after, a lucky escape for her. I went to a wedding where the groom did his speech in rhyme, but got tongue-tied and accidentally called his new MIL a cracking itch. I'm not sure exactly what he meant to say, but he never actually finished his speech, he was so mortified. At another wedding, the maid of honor walked down the aisle with her dress tucked into her knickers, and swore really loudly when someone told her. I have plenty, I'll try keep it as short as I can, but the best ones are. The best man in his speech made a joke about the bridesmaids. There were 3 of them, but 4 originally. The line or joke he used was, "Girls, you look lovely tonight." Can everyone please applaud to the bridesmaids to appreciate their beauty? Guests clap. Best man resumes speech quickly. No, seriously folks, you'd give a bigger round of applause if you'd seen them outside the kebab shop on a Saturday night. The 4th bridesmaid had been fatally hurt in an accident with a taxi while they were standing outside the takeaway after the hen night a couple months earlier. And her parents were at the wedding. Major cringe. Another time, it was a wedding in America. At the reception, I can only describe what was like a mini ceremony on the dance floor after they were already married. The bride, groom, her mum and her dad all linked arms and walked into the reception like walking the aisle again. Slow music playing, the mother clearly loving the attention, as if she were the bride. Then they all did this weird slow dance type of thing while all holding each other in a foursome in the same way a couple would. Then suddenly the daughter breaks free, and did this awful stretched out hand with her parents, as if they were out of reach. That was meant to be the parents handing their daughter over to the groom. The groom actually untied a massive ribbon they'd put around her waist as if opening a parcel, while they stood like animated clowns in a panto with clasped hands and sheer joy on their faces. This led right into their first dance. Super cringe like nothing I have seen before. One more is my dad said my mum's name when taking his vows with my stepmum. I've been to several weddings where people have fainted. One was a bride, another the groom, another a wedding guest in full military garb. Bride was a doctor so rushed down from the altar to provide first aid, and another the priest. Why people in the deep south of the US think it is a good idea to have a wedding outside in the summer is beyond me. I think the best man's Luong speech, which was mostly about the time the groom had really bad, painful constipation, to the point an ambulance had been called, and then he related the sounds which happened as the constipation ceased to be so stuck. To be fair, it's about the only wedding speech I remember, though I have tried to forget. Also, the father of the bride who never normally did any public speaking and was clearly terrified and stumbled and stuttered his way through the speech. I am sure he was doing his best, but it was awful, poor bloke. A long time ago, 35 years. I went with my parents to a wedding that was videoed, a novelty back then. In the lull between the day and the evening they showed the uncut video on a big screen in the bar, and we all watched awestruck at this modern-day development. At the point where the video zoomed in on the bride standing at the church doors ready to walk down the aisle, my mum, who was standing behind the cameraman, is heard to say, very clearly and slowly, "What does she think she looks like?" Funnily enough, her and the bride, who looked beautiful by the way, are no longer friends. MIL announced 2 days before that she was going to use the wedding as a chance to say her piece, then said that she wasn't going, then on the day itself did go. She had a face on her all the way through the service, not sure if she cried, but I know SIL cried, because I'm losing my brother. She then refused to have any photos taken with me, literally said no and walked away when asked, and the groom and his mother photo we have is very stiff and awkward, because DH was pissed off at her for her behavior. At the reception, we think table-to-table canvassing opinions on the marriage and then offering her own opinion, which wasn't favorable, moaned about the placement of the buffet table and the types of food on it, told everyone I was spoiled, because my parents paid for the food, got Sills to change out of their bridesmaid dresses, as soon as we arrived at the venue before all the photos were done and before everyone had seen them. I had elderly relatives where looking at the dresses was a thing, told everyone it wasn't going to last and so on. Eventually my mum offered to take her out into the car park to discuss it, and she sharp shut up after that. My own wedding. My dad's speech. I don't look at today as gaining a son, I look at it as getting rid of my daughter. Hilarious. A long time ago for me too. My first wedding was at a country home about 20 minutes drive from my parents' house, and about 2 hours away from where I was living with then DF. Much of the ceremony went in a blur, maybe nerves, lol, but apparently the minister referred to me and my about to me DH as fornicators, living together in sin, woe. And as it was 1979, was prob a big thing way back then. Parents and other oldies absolutely shocked, as many hadn't been told about the living situation etc. Fast forward to dancing after reception, and Nutter host had promised us amazing range of music, stereo only, no band, but has had a major fight with his partner, and so no music at all, it's all her tape deck library. those were the days with tapes. So one of my friends has the Saturday Night Fever and Grease tapes in her car glove box that we listened to and danced to all night. On repeat. Best man picks a fight with my bridemaid's partner as he tries to encourage her to go home with him instead. And me have already gone by then. Not knowing the backstory in the morning to what led to the fight saw me being a bit non-committal to her version unfortunately, and we fell out. Oh, and the florist forgot to order the flowers we wanted, picked them from her garden that same morning, and they were pretty much done by 4 p.m. Photos hilarious, long-stemmed roses, all limp and closed up x3. Should have been a sign of what was to come. I went to an evening reception where 2 weddings shared the same room, DJ and bar. There was a sort of partition down the middle of the dance floor, although you could still see the other party. When the DJ was talking, you weren't quite sure which bride and groom he was referring to. Very odd. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. Before you go please, like, comment, and subscribe for more daily uploads.